This week in Toriko, but Komatsu is learning about something that I may hazard a guess might be a gourmet demon. Brandino Alright, so this week in Toriko, I'm changing it up a little bit this week with all of the reviews that I'm dropping. So this one will be the first of the many, because a lot of things dropped over the weekend. And this weekend kind of got shooken up. So Friday and Saturday, I didn't have a lot of time to post a lot of stuff. That's why Nanatsu dropped late and everything. But Toriko, a little quiet because, it's nighttime. But, the chapter was a little calm. So this week, we get to talk to the lady that that Komatsu was talking to earlier on in last week's chapter. Now, this is purely speculation. What I'm guessing is that either is Froze's, inner demon, from my thoughts. Because remember, Froze did have an inner demon, even though the hair was white, yes. Even though it kind of looked more ghostly, yes. Either that's that, or this is Komatsu's inner demon, which might be in some way related to Froze. Because for some reason, Komatsu's ability to understand the food, his skill, his intuitiveness of what the food wants, is something that only a master chef can pick up. And we all know Froze was a master being able to cook things that only Asya was able to capture. So she had to be way higher than 5-star. So after he goes and talks to her for a hot second and then dissipates, which I'm guessing where he's at, if when Toriko had to go visit, or actually had to go get the blue, well, not even Toriko, when the red demon had to go in and get the blue demon from deep within Toriko, or Naruto, when Naruto had to talk to the fox demon within himself, or any other show where there's a demon within the body, there's always a space that's their space. I'm thinking that when Komatsu was talking to this lady, this might be his gourmet demon that he's talking to, and she's actually communicating back. Now, as the chapter continues, Komatsu and the old masked-faced spirit man or whatever, is going through, and they're about to actually jump on to whatever line that he needs to get in so that he can get to the place where he's going. And while they're going, the guy's explaining to him a little bit more in depth of how the lines that these people get into, the villagers, when they are chosen, the lines that these people get into are specific to how their soul works. So if their soul is abnormal, they go into the abnormal soul line. If their soul isn't abnormal, but their body might be, whatever, they go into the body line. And it just splits. And then there's little nuances that may shift what line you go into. But what it's seeming like is it's better to go into the soul line, I'm thinking. Because the body line just gets used for, I guess, slavery or just fodder. And the soul line is a little better. But so now, as they enter one of the kitchens that are basically creating each of the different courses, they're learning from one of the higher ranking, I'm guessing this is a chef. Either this was one of the 5-star, 5-shell chefs or 10-shell chefs, or it's just a guy that presides over the area. But he's yeah, our master long ago learned a way to produce air in this location instead of having to go all the way to the other continent to get the actual air. So they're able to make it here. And we've mastered this incredible way of cooking it. And we know how we're cooking it right. But of course, Komatsu, like I said, having that ingenuity, coming out that way sounds weird, but having that ingenuity, he, of course, says, hey guys, this isn't getting cooked right. Actually, I know the proper way to cook it. Don't worry about it. I'll get this project done. And of course, they looking at him yo, you gonna step up into my kitchen and talk all that mess? Even though, now the only thing is that they don't know that Komatsu is not even is a chef, is a very skilled chef. They're thinking like, oh yeah, he's just a young chef. He doesn't have the skill. You know how like people who are set in their ways, they really don't want to hear nothing but from the new generation. But he's like, oh, he's a young chef. He doesn't really know. But Komatsu's like, watch, I'm gonna show you how it's done. Now back on the other side, we have the gang and Don King Slime and Yuta, you know, some of the other chefs that were there. And they're figuring out how the back channel works and how, you know, the back works and how the safe zones that some creatures can create and that is actually created in nature kind of work. And basically what Don Slime explains is that all of these things are just kind of like time rips. So the reason why the safe zone is so safe is because it's literally distorting the time around it. So everything outside of it doesn't see it because it's a distortion of time. So they don't sense it. That's why it's a safe zone. And then when they pass through it, you know, time is basically slowed to a crawl within the time zone. But of course, outside of it, you know, everything is moving at a normal pace. So in there, you could be there for 100 years and age crazy fast. But it's probably only like 2 minutes outside. So it has that speed up effect that because it has no actual, kind of like the hyperbolic time chamber in Dragon Ball Z. They trained for years in there, but it was only like a week. So, you know, it's just how the rip in time works. So that's basically how all of those work. And they were also explaining how this door that they're in front of is one of a few doors that are in the world of Toriko, but it's only that these doors are manifested because these are the only spaces where the time is ripped hard enough to be able to travel to the back. But generally you shouldn't be able to because you have to travel very fast. And only another, treasure fish another, aka Event Horizon Fish, because he can travel faster than the speed of light, was able to create some of these rifts. Now, this may be just me quoting it. I have to reread it, but I think he made, like, him being able to break the speed of light also started to rip some parts in time because, of course, Whale King Moon is basically like a swimming black hole, so nothing's getting away from it. So by the end of the chapter, they're explaining, like, you know, this is how we have to do because we have to cook Ashia's full course so that we can, you know, get things done. And also, we've been eating this for years, so that's how we're enhancing our palate and also increasing our cooking skill. But right as they're saying that, they see this big gas cloud come up. Komatsu done did it. It's cooked. You know, he's all super hyper about it, and it's like you. And I know every other chef in that kitchen is probably like, did this guy just mess it up? Wait till they taste the food. Wait till they taste that air salad dough. That air salad dough. Anyway, so cutting back in because my job clearly is killing me slow. I haven't been able to post things on time. Oh, also, your boy got some new eyewear. Anyway, so 346, cutting back from 345. They're back in the kitchen, and Komatsu just finished cooking up air. And basically, they're still trying to figure out, like, different ways to kind of get the full course done. Now, as they're speaking, you know, Chef Gigi is saying basically like, hey, we have basically the necessary people. We just need some items to kind of get this stuff done. And then they're also like, well, how hard is it to cook God? And it was like, and then they're wondering basically to the fact of why so many people, especially from the slums, because you know, oh boy, that got cut up with one strike, Mr. Mafia Scratchface, because he's way back in the day. I forgot his name. Anyway, he's basically looking out for all the people in the slums. So he's like, why are you using all of those, you know, downtrodden people as just fodder for your, you know, cooking methods? And they're basically saying, like, because God requires it. It literally needs the power of the human soul. And then Gigi starts breaking it down. It's like even back in the day, which I feel like Gigi's talking from the perspective of, not to say it like this, but kind of like the perspective of somebody who used to be part of like a lineage that owned slaves. It doesn't have to be white people and black people. Of course, people are gonna take it that way. Could just be like Egyptians, but but yeah, just people who own like workers, and from their point of view back then, they just saw them as workers. They didn't really, look at them as like people in a sense. It's just not what they thought about. They just thought about this was the job. They were the workers and we were the mediators. So from his point of view, he was saying like, yeah, we've been here for thousands of years, and it wasn't until humans started popping up that we were actually able to cook God. And even then it took a long time. So then they're like, well, how are we going to get this done? And he's like, well, frankly, we don't have a lot of time to cook God, but we still have another part of the main course, or not the main course, but Ashia's full course, that takes way longer than God. And I'm like, what? And then it was really weird how they worded this, at least from what I was reading from my chapter. Maybe the people who translated it this way, but they were basically just like, the only thing other than God that takes the longest is none other than another. Like, did you have to say it like that? Anyway, so another takes a long time, and the time span that it would actually take is like 600,000 years. Like, who has time for this kind of craziness? Like 6,000, not even 600,000 years to cook one fish? The fish ain't that good, dog. Like, come on, swim, dog, swim. Anyway, but they were saying like, even if they had the time, which they do by being in back, and even if they had the skill, which they do by having the chefs, tools are not strong enough to be able to cook for that many years. And for them to get said tools, which would be the golden kitchenware, which is what they've been kind of talking about on the low for a long time, it's like, this is only the only things that they could use. And of course Komatsu saying like, well, do we have to use human souls? Like, isn't there another way? And then Gigi brings up a note that we should have already known from the beginning. Froze, God Chef Froze, I should say. I don't even know that was her actual title, because when you look back at Toriko, back to the time of Asha, Froze, and the original three, and how great they are now. But when you look back to that time, you're just thinking about like, hey, these people they're really good, they're catching some crazy stuff, but in the time frame that it is now, these people are legends. These are the people that have done things that have just never been able to be done anymore. It's basically like when people climb Everest, even though people can do it now. But it's like, imagine the first guy to climb Everest ever, before they had the tools and the skills and the know-how. First guy to climb Everest, and then everybody else who does it has to be so trained and skilled and able to withstand the cold and ridiculous weather. Like, it's a task that some people just can't do. But saying like God Chef Froze was the only one able to cook it without using a human soul or human souls. And of course Komatsu was like, well, then it's possible. As soon as I heard him like being cheery about it, I'm like, okay, if he thinks it's possible, whatever that lady that was talking to him, which has got to be his gourmet demon, which might be that Komatsu's like lineage might be the Froze, maybe. But whatever that demon is, or whatever Komatsu is, or whatever, I feel like he might be the key to unlocking that skill once again. And you know that's how they're going to do it, because this is how the story is. You know, Komatsu's the shining light, Toriko is the muscle that gets through all of the challenges. They're a tag team. So now the big quest now, especially since the Gourmet Hunters, well, I don't think that's their actual name, but is Aizawa? No. Damn. I call myself a fan. Anyway, but the Gourmet Hunters that generally was with Toriko before, when they were like sipping on water and like, oh, the way of life is by the mere ingredients, and Toriko's like, man, eat some chicken, dog. Vegetables ain't cutting it. But they're gonna basically go out and fight the 7 warlords, or the 7 kings, or I forget what they exactly call them, but basically in Whale King's Moon's domain, there are 7 other creatures that are combined able to at least give Whale King Moon a challenge. The fact that it takes 7 of them to take down Whale King Moon is just phenomenal, to say what his power is. But these 7 creatures are no joke. And one of them we saw when we first got here, which was that weird coral thing, which was only a piece of it. But yeah, that coral creature that attacked them in the beginning was only a part of one of the coral creatures. I don't feel like looking it up because it's late. And then we have a shark, we have an octopus, we have something that looks like just random, like it might be a jellyfish actually. That might be a jellyfish. The Sea King Ocean. That might be a jellyfish. And a couple other ones, but each one of them contains an ability, or a piece of their body, that creates one of the golden kitchenware. And little did we know is that the giant clam that they're in, Blue Grill, is also one of the 7 beasts, or the 7 warlords, or whatever you want to call them. The clam is one of them. And the reason why these 7 beasts are so strong, on top of the fact that, you know, they're basically the other opposing force when Whale King Moon gets out of control, is that another decided to be like, how they said in the chapter, a clownfish, and decided to use these extremely dangerous people, which, one, how did you use a shark for refuge? Actually, you know what? They have those things called remora, which basically just suction cup to the side of a shark, and they kind of like eat the algae off of it. So I guess that could work. But like a jellyfish, clownfish can kind of do that. Like an octopus, I don't really see anything latching onto an octopus. And I don't know what that weird like chomp thing is. It just looks like jowls and spikes. It's the weirdest looking creature. But basically another traveling faster than the speed of light used all of 7 these creatures, and each time he lived with them, he shot past the speed of light, giving them incredible savoriness. So the next chapter, if they don't do any more like, you know, explanation of plot, but the next few chapters after that, it's gonna be pretty lit. So if you like the video, please comment down below, subscribe all over here. And don't let the fact that sometimes the younger generation can show up the old, and sometimes it takes many to defeat the greatest one get you down, because the dawn always rises on a new day. That thing would be to subscribe. Oh, after credit stuff. Last week's Toriko. And the rest of the videos sprawled out all over here. And I wanted to drop it this week. Actually, no, it's coming out next week. Yeah, it's coming out next week. Next week I got something big. Get ready for the greatness. I'm gonna, well, probably not Saturday. I'm probably gonna do it on Sunday. But on Sunday, I'm gonna start editing a new video. Well, it's technically an old video, but I'm gonna edit a video that's gonna be pretty cool. Some new stuff come to the channel, so I hope you will stick around.